lose all that stuff that you gave us. So the moment the internet was misbehaving, I quickly ended it so I could. So I've uploaded it already, so that is secure. Now, so this will be like our part 2. Normally we don't stop here. 4 hours, 5 hours, and let me tell you, was Professor Wande Abimbola, my former Vice Chancellor at the Obafemi Awolowo University, and then Dr. Victor Mululu. So I can tell you, you've joined the pantheon of the greats tonight. You know,
Thank
because
you
look, I've been writing, I've been scribbling, because I'm learning a lot from you, and I like when I can learn from someone else. That's why I couldn't stop you. You know, I just couldn't stop you. And okay, so let's start where you stopped.
Thank you very much. You know, you're a professor yourself, so you are actually teaching me from what you said. You know, as your elders used to say, they said one who learns teaches, and one who teaches learns. And the student-teacher relationship is a yin-yang relationship. You know, so you are very right in that. You know that sometimes when we speak, sometimes I don't know what I know until you ask me, until I'm able to give an account of that which I've gone through. You know, I'm learning also, you know, from your questioning and all. You know, so as I was saying, I decided ushering me into a new world where they started asking me difficult questions. And this was also where I learned something formidable, that people usually don't buy into the ads that they see, into the billboards, into the newspaper stuff and all. They trust more information from trusted networks. So when I saw people, for example, somebody who supplies you quality toothpaste, for example, one day will begin to give you an idea or recommendation of the kind of toothbrushes to buy. And very soon soap, very soon bedroom tiles, very soon rugs, very soon he'll be telling you about home improvements. Why? Because you've trusted him enough in certain things and you are willing to take further risk. Life is all about risk management. So with that, I learned so much that people who I have been dealing with, who have trusted me from computer days to their security, to the management of their brand, management of their life, have started asking me questions about other things that they do for themselves. So, and I was also learning from them, because there's no how you can consult for anyone without knowing what they do. And that's one thing about our profession, assessment valuers. If you are dealing with a doctor, you must think like a doctor and know what a doctor will require property for, and know the kind of investment a doctor will make. If you are dealing with a lawyer, you know how a lawyer thinks. You know the kind of investment a lawyer needs.
Internet break. I hope it doesn't go off again.
My clients enough to understand how I can better serve them or create value around them. You cannot be around the wealthy without creating value. Wealthy people don't like people who are a burden onto them. I don't recall ever using phone to chase anybody before. All of my clients, I don't even call people. But they call me when they need me, and I'm always there, and I'll do what I need to do. If I'm coming to Abuja to spend 2 days, that 2 days will be maximized, you know, for impact. So when I'm going, they don't even want me to go again. They always say, no, stay back and do this. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you? I'll say, no, I planned for 2 days, and I'm going after 2 days. So that I've kept my relationship of 15 years like that. So that respect is there. So when you tell such people, who a lot of people see as lions and whatever on TV, professional. So that way, it gives you that link. It gives you that opportunity to leverage on certain things that a lot of normal people, even their children, will not be able to leverage on. I have clients that their children don't know half about their father as much as I do. So with that, you know, it gave me a lot of, it broadens my worldview to a point where when I talk about Nigeria, it is different from the way an average citizen. So it was around this period that I started curating my loud mind, you know, into books. I have a lot of journals all over the place, and it can be tiring. Of course, you'll be able to tell us also that it can be tiring to be chasing papers all around. So I started documenting the things I do by sharing my heart with the world through social media. I started from Facebook. But when I saw the reception of Facebook, because Facebook is a platform for people who you already know, who went to school with you, who are familiar with you, your church members, your families, and all. Certainly, most of these people will not readily accept or embrace your change, or embrace your worldview, or embrace anything they don't know about you, or they don't associate with you growing up. They will not accept change easily from you. They always want to keep you where they used to know you. They say, so with that familiarity, and also because of your family, there are certain things you say that will be too bold for them. I know how many times that we had congressional hearing over my Facebook post in my family. This and that and that and that. All those kind of things. They know I don't mean evil or anything. I'm just like that. I'm blunt. But people were struggling with that, especially people who knew only the student aspect of me, who did not understand my exposure to politics, my exposure to nation building, my exposure to governance, my exposure to so many other statecraft and the rest. So they were struggling a lot with things. So most of the things I said in the past were like biblical prophecy. Then Twitter came, and that was like 12 years ago. When Twitter came, I embraced Twitter because it served as a platform for the expression of my tech side. So I was dealing with my friends in California and all over the world on Apple stuff and all. I became a developer over the years also. So I was analyzing softwares and so many things, dealing with stuff, bringing companies onto the Apple platform. In those days, people use Windows. And then they always end up in Computer Village 6 months or 3 months thereafter, looking for upgrade, looking for this, looking for antivirus and the rest. So I keep telling my clients, I will not put you on Windows. All my clients were on Apple long before Apple became popular in Nigeria. It was very expensive. In fact, because
Apple practically failed initially.
Initially, yeah.
Nobody said Apple. It was too complicated.
Exactly. And as at then, every computer in every company that I've worked in were Apple. I make sure that I buy. I will always tell there's a condition. I will not work with you if you don't buy Apple. So I will configure it and they will enjoy it because we will never call engineers the system for effectiveness. So everybody who see the way I manage their stuff, they were happy and satisfied, with the way I run it. So they were bringing me into their work, their field, the things they do. And I started learning how to strategize, from there. I started understanding politics, understanding governance from a different perspective. That was when I realized that there's no such thing as political party per se in reality in Nigeria. Political parties are acronyms and vehicles that people use to get into position of power and sleep APC tomorrow. So it doesn't really mean we should hate them, throw stones at them. They see things that you are not seeing. And I also remember that I have my differences also with you over the years, that I didn't really understand what was going on until that epiphany that I had with our long discussion, maybe 3 hours or so discussion and all, that we're able to walk through each other's shoes. I was able to see things from your perspective, and I understood every single decision you've made in time past, which a lot of people still till today quarrel with you over or misconstrue you over. So from there, I began to see that it is not much about the number of people hailing you. It's not also about the number of people who applauding you. It is about your consistency. And if there's any such person as consistent in our political space today, you are one of them. Because I knew how Ovation started. I knew Ovation didn't get a huge sum of money from anywhere. It is your discipline, your culture, your consistency, and your brand and enlightenment and intuition, regardless of who is agreeing with you or not, that actually got you to a place of prominence where you have built a platform that doesn't really require you to run itself. When you say Ovation anywhere in the world, people know what you're talking about because they know what it's about. It is discipline, it is focused, it has something, and it engages people. You see, the engagement concept is something a lot of people have not explored. It was once popularized by someone called Khan in 1990, who related this concept to the notion of psychological presence or notion of psychological presence. In other words, you are here in the here and the now. You are present, and the definition itself is it's about a state in which individuals express their entire self physically, cognitively, and emotionally. So when I went to Twitter, onto Twitter, this was the idea, which you also you have also practiced in the way you handle things with your discipline and all. That was the idea I had. I said, I don't want to write like any other author. I don't want to be the kind of author that will have his book gathering dust on anybody's shelf. I want to write something that will be a Bible, a guide, a light onto the path of many, especially the youth, who have been unfortunate or who have been disproportionately, pushed to one side to grapple with context and concepts that has never been worked. For example, education. Not education. Because what exactly is education? Education is not something that is limited to the four walls of any university. It is something that it is an activity that we engage in all through our life as humans. Because it's both formal and informal, not just about competitions and all. There are certain things that you will never likely learn on the street. And those things are as common as the way we run business. The way if you look at the way people run business, for example, in Nigeria, it's not something that in an environment that is actually against what you're doing, an environment that is actually competing with you. Nigeria is the only country where government competes with business. So how do you begin to prepare people for this kind of environment? How do you begin to prepare people who have been programmed to expect to be dependent on a system, to begin to build something facing the kind of resistance that they have in the Nigerian environment? And every single thing begin to push you to the level of corruption, to have to be fraudulent before you can get ahead in life, to have to know somebody, to bribe somebody, to bloat your budget enough to be able to meet the logistics where everybody else is doing business. So rather than do business that will be time-bound or do business that will be tantamount to selling time, lawyers bill by the time. They bill by time. But you cannot put doctors on surgeon on timing. There are operations that will take them 10 hours, 20 hours. They can't charge based on per hourly basis because they are critical. So I realized from that moment that if you want to be significant, because it's another thing to be wealthy, to be rich, another thing is to live a life of significance. A life of significance has nothing to do with what you have in a bank account. It simply states that your time cannot be valued, cannot be equated into money. The value you create the price cannot be put on it. You are actually building a name. Just like the Bible says that a good name is better than precious ointment. In other words, you are creating this identity for yourself that is so imperative, so important that people cannot put a price on it. So with that, I stopped costing the things that I do. I started judging the value of what I bring by the satisfaction of the people that I'm people that I probably would never have met. It took me to places that my father, my grandfather, everybody in my lineage has never been and will probably never be. So with that exposure, rather than using my link, and that's where Sega link thing came from, rather than using my link to get project for myself, contract for myself, like I told you, I don't know how to write proposal. I don't do that kind of contract. When you want to give me a job to do, my name is already written on that job if it's an innovation. If it's something that is bold, if it's something that is brave, if it's something that is courageous, if it's something that is going to redefine a culture, if it's something that is going to engage culture enough to create something new, to create opportunity for other people to thrive within the society. I realize that in the political structure system, we have a lot of failures, and I realized that also, as at that time, PDP was having a lot of problems. They were complacent. They are acting like Nigeria was almost becoming a one-party state. And again, I learned a lot from the likes of Wole Soyinka, the likes of late Gani Fawehinmi, and the rest of them. And then also you people, your activism in those Abacha days, I was well aware. Took my notes and all. And I kept telling myself that there must always be another way. There will always be another way. We cannot continue to do things the same way. So when they came with the idea of, we're tinkering with the idea of creating an alternative party and everything, I said, well, I think I may have a few ideas to learn. But of course, they were playing money politics as at that time, and they never agreed. There was mega party which failed. They spent so much money. There were so many things that were happening, and it didn't really work until they came and said, we want to create a party. And then they went to speak with Chief Tommy Kimi then. Chief Tomikimi was one of my long-standing clients. In fact, one of my most prominent ones anyway, because he was a strict man, he was proud, he was an achiever, an architect, a perfectionist. He was everything, and he keeps his distance. He doesn't flock around. He's very straightforward and everything. So they came to me that he was going to lead that thing and all, and I was his chief consultant and all. And I said, okay, no problem, we can do this. So he said he was willing to listen to me, despite the fact that he was strict and all, and he was willing to rub minds and all. He didn't even care that I was young and anything. And that was how APC was formed. He was hosted in his house. We did everything in his house. We brought everybody together in his house. All the people making noise today, we saw each other. Some of them were not even privy to even enter the meeting during this merger. We did the merger, created the party, built the structure, everything, to the point where nobody could argue. Of course, the people in Lagos and all were saying, lie, this thing will never work. Despite the fact that they were the one financing the project. They said it will never work. And eventually it worked.
Nobody ever mentions Chief Tomikimi when they are talking about the parts. Now, I don't think anyone remembers.
Exactly. Whereas he was the chairman of that merger committee. He was the one that put. Without him, if he was not there,
even acknowledges.
That's politics for you. That's politics for you. We hosted it. We designed everything. We put everything together. To the logo. Which we sold the logo because the logo we were designing the logo, exchanging ideas, and they brought it from Lagos and said, okay, please, this is what we want to sell. We'll look at it, and we sold it to the people because everybody was bringing their own tokens. The thing was looking like a Agbebolaja kind of this thing eventually. I said, no, we have to redesign it. And Alaji Lai Momodu was there, giving feedback up and down in the corridor. So we're all there. We only wanted a case where Nigeria will work not as a single party state, but a country that is governed by probably two-party system that works for the people. So that if this one does not work, we have an alternative. So the idea was not to create an opposition party, but an alternative party, which will be there for the people. So eventually the party was done and everything, and then they said they would get back to the technical committee that put it together and all, and that was the last we heard of them. The next thing we heard was a secret meeting somewhere else, there, this, or that, and that. To the point where, there's certain things that happen within the corridor. Of course, there are animosities between certain individuals and themselves. They've hurt each other before politically and all. Hey, little me, were the one that was saying, don't worry, we are building something for Nigeria. It shouldn't be about you. I know you have problems with this person. I know you don't see eye to eye, but let us come. Come to Lagos. I will follow you. When we were giving the final details of the APC this thing, I and Chief Tomikimi went to Asiwaju Tinubu's house to give the final details on how the whole thing went and so hand over the whole thing to him. Chief Tomikimi had never visited Asiwaju before because they are not close friends. Because they had their issues over one thing or the other. And they are more or less sworn, they are vowed to differ for life, for good. But I said, no, you cannot put your interests above the interests of the nation. You need to go there. You need to go there. As an elder statesman, you guys need to agree. What future do you want to leave for us? So we went there and did everything, and then he was excommunicated and everything, and that was it. I wasn't even a member of any political party, and I wasn't interested. I just want Nigeria to work because of the kind of ideas that I have for the youth and everything. And not because of, like I said, my theory was being tested, that you can actually give your all to things without benefiting from it. How many trees have you seen that grew its own fruit and then start munching it? There's no banana tree that eats banana. There's no apple tree that eats apple. Neither do you see any of these trees hawk their fruits on the highway. People will have to hunt for the fruit in the forest, no matter how deep the forest is. They will go and look for exotic fruit in the forest to reap it, to pluck it, and then to make whether to make it benefit them or to sell. So if your value is there, diligent in the things you do from where you are, wise men from all over the world will come and seek you out from that's your little crevice. Nobody knew my family name. We're not political family or anything. But we have done mighty things that if you even hear, we don't even need to hear who is behind a lot of things that they are claiming victory for, they are claiming credit for today. Across board, there are certain things I'll tell you today, you'll be shocked.
Well, before we go into politics, I think we need to take a little break with music because we prepared for you Today is a celebration of who you are, of your steadfastness, of your greatness. And so let's have something for our dear brother. So we'll play you some music. So can be done. You can get some tea. I'm having my own tea here. I don't play.
Yeah, I have.
They've told us in these days of COVID-19 that we should have hot water handy all the time. So you
lovely. These are some of the. This is one of the songs that takes you through those terrible days when you wake up at 3 a.m. and you wonder if you should just give up on a lot of things and just pack your bags and go to Canada. For me, just for That's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wow.
That's a wonderful worship song.
Songs you selected. So someone was saying, oh, you just wanted to continue. No, we let our people relax because the brain, the brain can explode. You know, with the kind of ideas bubbling around your brains like champagne, it's not easy. Yes.
It's great.
I wanted to go now. I see you as a philosopher of sorts. You philosophize a lot, but I don't want us to waste this opportunity without talking about practical politics in our dear country.
Yeah.
You've been a major participant and contributor. And I want us, just give me, I'll put you on the spot. The last 5 years that Buhari has been in power, give me your assessment.
Well, I would say that it has been tragic. Because
it has
sometimes
been
tragic. It's tragic. It has been tragic. You know, it's okay. They say affliction must not happen to one twice. You know, and for me, I believe that there are many ways to calm a negative energy without suppressing or fighting it. You know, which is why I always tell people that everything is not about tantrums. Everything is not about you recognize it, you smile to it, and you invite something nicer to come up and replace it. So you read what your every passing day of your life, you read some inspiring words, because your body, the way God has constructed this thing we call body, the brain, the chemical in the brain, the way they secrete things into the body, they're actually what heals and actually sickens you. So sometimes most of the things we attribute to somebody else, sometimes are projections of our own personal feelings that we put on others in order to punish. Sometimes if you look at those things as, okay, this person is doing something that is not supposed to be done, or this some person is abusing the rights of the people, or this person is taking an opportunity, is ruining an opportunity for majority of Nigerians. There are ways in which you can engage that scenario without worsening the situation. Every single thing that I realize that the liberalistic engagements to political issues or socio-political issues, is what has been implemented in Nigeria. And I'll give you the simple formula. It's not very difficult. When you see anything, because they are projecting their own personal weaknesses onto a situation, they see the solution, they see a problem, they blow it out of proportion, they hold somebody responsible for it who will be demonized for that particular thing, they drag that person, and then they begin to elevate themselves to the position of power so that they can be seen as an alternative. And at the end of the day, the evil that they have pronounced out there becomes who they are, because that's all they know. That's all they have been saying, and that's all they will be. Problem that we don't learn from will continue to repeat itself, always going to repeat itself. That's why we keep having the same set of people who have ruined us before coming back to rule us. Because Nigerians, the 99%, will never vote for somebody who doesn't have a name. For example, if Chief Dr. Dele Momodu is contesting for election today, again in Nigeria for presidency, and someone like someone else, maybe somebody new, somebody younger is coming out, it will be difficult for them to win you in the election. Why? Because the name is out there. The name that people know, they will never depart from that name. It remains in their subconscious. In other words, we are not a people who experiment, who have no apprehension for the future. In other words, when you have impoverished a people enough, they don't think about the future. They think of what they will eat this evening. So with that, they will imbibe the life of oppression to the point where they will begin to wear poverty as a virtue. And that's exactly what these people have made us become, majority of Nigerians to become in the past few years of their reign. First term, second term. And they are not perturbed about it because they really don't know how to serve better. And as you can see, despite the fact that they campaign on security, they campaign on economy, and they failed at both ends, they are telling us that they're doing their best. In other words, they don't even see beyond where they are, and which begins to inform me that they understand anything. For example, now I don't think they even know what they're doing to Nigerians. It's hurting Nigerians. They don't understand that they are oppressing Nigerians. They don't understand that their promotion of hate speech bill and the rest in order to oppress people and make them live in fear so that they can clamp on them when they demand good governance. In a country where Boko Haram is. So with that, you see a situation where we are prioritizing spectacle over substance. So authority to the people, the representation of governance to the people have become armed robbers and kidnappers. To the point where, if not for the intervention of an organization in 2017, which is Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, our organization that boldly confronted the elephant in the room over 70 years. Remember how police have become an albatross, in Nigerian socio-political space since 1943. % from the 99%, which justified the 450,000 police workforce having 250,000 or more of them working for VIPs, while the rest are under-policed and fractured and abused and oppressed by the same people who were meant to protect them. A new set of leaders, that is transformational leaders and enlightened followers who are easy to govern, difficult to rule, and impossible to enslave, who will likely hand over the legacy of poverty and the legacy of oppression to our children. And my grandfather was a religious farmer, and all of you had large family, I know. My father was a civil servant who was expecting government to become gods to them. So I cannot fail my generation again by allowing myself to expect politicians that will stampede to power over their pontification alone, not because of their works, not because of their ideals, not because of their track record or goodwill, but simply because of the camouflage or because of the cloak that they wore for them. Of course, how it is that when we are hoping for a knight in shining armor and you get an idiot in an aluminium foil, for leaders across board. I'm not even talking about one particular position as it were, across board. So our governance lack representation. And at the end of the day, we have people who are unfit to even be gate men ruling us. So of course, they saw it as a buffet, an opportunity for them to begin to feed their avarice, their greed that has no end. So at the end of the day, we had no choice, because the 70% of the population of Nigeria who are youth have been fooled, have been programmed, have been indoctrinated to believe that government can be your all. So they vote anybody that has the highest campaign, the loudest campaign, and who has the finest poster, and then they go to church to go and pray for deliverance, for God to deliver Nigeria, when we have people who are already in position to do just that, as governed by the Constitution. So we have not had the experience of understanding the true democracy as designed by the for the people. But again, who are the people who determine that governance? People who are educated, people who are landowners, people who have something to lose. Not people who are victims of the society themselves as weaponized by the political class. So all this ignorance, all this gulf of subliteracy has allowed people to marvel and adorn their chains as jewelries. So you have people who have finished school, who have graduated, doctors, professors, who want to participate in politics, who join political parties in order to bring their goodwill, their experience, because of the things that they've acclaimed, that they've garnered, the education and exposure they've gotten, being professors at certain places, and then they get into power and become moribund. They even become more useless than the worst of us that are, so pretending over impunity in Nigeria. And why is that? Because the political class itself don't see political positions as an opportunity to govern or to serve anybody, but an opportunity to rule. You see, whereas the vestiges of military interregnum is still evident in Nigeria. Free speech is still not there. Our students don't have opportunity. There's no enabling environment for businesses. Everybody is struggling. Today, if you see any business that is struggling, probably they have a stake from somebody who is in government who is giving them a leeway. Legitimate businesses are being frustrated on a daily basis, and yet we have government in place. People, our youth right now, who are the future of the country, people who are supposed to be laying foundations for them to thrive in a computerized age, a phone in the hands of a youth can get them killed. Before I came onto this program, I was still dealing with a case in Calabar, where every unit that they keep fragmenting. If you look at Nigerian police, for example, they had the highest number of silos. 21 different MDAs were carved out of the Nigerian police, and yet it did not change the Nigerian police as a whole. Common sense, you say if you have 10 wives, and things should at least get easier for you. You should not be struggling to feed, because you now have a lot of women in the house who are supposed to do better things, take care of the children and the rest. But the more wives we have, the more problems we seem to be getting. The more they fragment institutions, the more they weaken institutions, and the more institutions becomes the demon that they were created to fight. The police, as it were, have become. And so while we're saying it then, they were fighting back. Some people felt, it was because of a political affiliation that is making you fight. Remember, in Nigeria, once you criticize police, you are criticizing the government, because the government controls or orders the police around. And because the police is the closest authority to you, if you demonize them, you have demonized the government, and the government have lost touch with the people. So it is very powerful, which is why politicians, governors who are profiting and feeding fat on security votes that is not open to people will never condemn police impunity. It will never happen. And when they do it, they just mince word and they forget it there. It's not there. They will tell you they don't have control over the police. But during elections, they have control over the police to steal ballot boxes. So there's so many things which I've summed up as institutional gaps in Nigeria that have been buffeting us and have been forcing us to remain underdeveloped. Nigeria has no reason, there's no justification for us to be a failed state. If you look at Wikipedia today and you Google failed states, Nigeria is listed amongst the places. And why will not be a failed state? A state is a country where institutions have been so weakened, so balkanized. And what do I mean by balkanization of institutions? These are deliberate weakening of entities so that they can serve some interest. In Nigeria, we need to begin from the police, because that's the closest authority to the people, and that's how we sanitize our civilization. What is a civilization without law and order? What are the pillars that hold the civilization, if not law and order and taxation? And thank God, I'm an authority on taxation, because of my discipline. I'm also an authority on policing because of my experience in the Homeland Security, based on the things I've done before across board in the Ministry of Interior, as it were, where police used to be, where we have immigrations, where we have several other ministries, and institutions that pertains to this internal security of this country, and has extended the external.
I'm reading the comments, and there was a particular gentleman who wanted to take you up on your assertion that this government, that it's a tragedy, that what has happened to the Buhari administration is a tragedy. He said he wants you to be specific about the areas of failure or the tragedy.
If I were to begin to define the areas of failure in the administration, let us begin with the integrity, the concept of integrity. What is integrity? When you say 1 + 1 = 2, and 1 + 1 is indeed found to be true by all concepts. Remember, when people postulated the theory regarding gravity, it has no respecter for tribe. It has no respecter for religion. Whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, if you jump from a cliff, you are going to fall. If you jump anywhere in the world, you are going to come down. What goes up comes down. Apple don't fall up, they fall down. So it begins to justify the theory that that particular postulation is true, which gives it integrity. In other words, it is coming to dry or drain the swamp. And then more corruption, in fact, in biblical proportions, that we have not even seen before, that we don't even know possible to humanity under any democracy or civilization, is being found and is being swept under the carpet. What exactly do you call that if not tragedy? We are looking at, let us even limit it, apart from the fact that we once were fooled into thinking that Nigeria needs a strong man as against strong institutions. So we put all our eggs in one basket, that somebody who has been a military man before, we at least know better on how to control the army in order to secure Nigeria. And we have failed. We have not even done as good as we were doing under somebody who was from the River area, who cannot differentiate the uniform of Air Force from military, who is not a soldier. He did perfectly well and better. We feel more secure under that administration than now. We are not safe today. I wasn't doing NSAS under Jonathan, not because we were safer, not because police were saner. The systemic problem was there under the last administration, and we were criticizing the administration enough to sponsor, to strategize an alternative political party. So it wasn't that you are a fan of anybody. It was about Nigeria, not about any political party or any individual. So because at least you've been there, you have an experience, you'll be able to handle them. But we realized that the people who even posture or who propped up this particular individual were thinking that because of his age and because of stuff, he will give room for people who have the capacity, the capability, and the rest to run. He will get the glory. But he didn't allow them. He brought back every single individual that has ruined Nigeria with him in the 80s back here. And I always understand that when you live in a complex society, when you live in a society where things no longer work the way they used to live in, and because you don't want to engage the unknown, what people often do is to bring back what they are familiar with. So what happened was a scenario of 1983 was reenacted in the year 2015 in order to make people who are governing to feel safe and to feel in control of the situation. So you realize that the plagues of 1980, of the 80s, Esenko, foreign exchange problems, clamping down on the dollar, chasing down any opposition, and so many other things that we used to see as vices of the past. Punitive measures, jailing people, victimization, weaponization and militarization of police units and the forces against certain interests. Everything was seen in this, and it wasn't expected. What was painted during the campaign was somebody who has seen better, who is now a Democrat, a reformed Democrat. So all this born again Democrat. So everything turned out to be lies. So when every single thing that you have made us believe is now a lie, what else do you want to hope for? Even there were some optimists who believed, oh, maybe we should give them more time. We waited 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 20, and then we realized that things were getting worse. As at that time, remember, the police commissioner that aided the Kano biblical result became IG of police. And the moment I put it on airplane mode so that calls will not come in. So as at that time, we realized that the moment that IG came in, the police posturing changed. Their perception of the government changed. The body language of their understanding of engagement changed. They felt they were in control. They can do anything they like. Now that their groups felt, oh, they now own the country. A Fulani man is finally in charge. They can do and undo. And that body language aided a lot of things, a lot of impunity, a lot of, things that were untold, that never happened before in our region. We started having issues where people will invade Nigeria, so to say, under the guise of we are rearing animals or we are pastoralists. And then they'll commit heinous crimes and our authorities will not be able to do anything because of the implication of an attack on a Fulani person, which affects the entire Fulani nation. So there are so many dynamics that we don't really understand that is incapacitating our security architecture in the country. So I felt if this trajectory goes on, a time will come when they will just need to knock on your door, pick your children, and go and kill them because you cannot pay ransom. And it was already happening. Akuzu, Sas, Abattoir, everywhere around Nigeria, it was all boiling, and nobody could talk because they were afraid. Who do you report police to when a police officer violates your rights? When the closest authority to you, have been compromised. So this is exactly the problem. So with this, I realized that Nigeria was already under a checkmate. And if we are not careful, we'll be counting dead bodies on our streets. So that was when we now started engaging government instead of using the old trick or the old engagement method of using discontent, we no go agree, carrying misspelled signs, raising ourselves together, occupying, for an engagement, as an engagement. They will clamp down on it because they will see it as a mobilization by politicians to overthrow their government. Because that was exactly what they used to get themselves to power. So I felt that theory, that method has failed because they will see you as a politician automatically and they will attack you. And it will distract you as well because, again, it begins to divide the country along party lines when people begin to see you a certain way. So with that, we design something else which does not demonize the government, which does not call anybody names or point fingers at anybody, but simply show the leadership or the rulership what is going on in our country and how we can better engage. And why we are showing responsibility from where we stand ourselves by doing something to ease the problem. And that was how NSAS Reform Police NG was birthed under Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation. And again, before that, actually, there had been issues. Remember when the President Buhari came in, there were some seismic activities within the political terrain where people believe now that our person has entered government, certain institutions within government must be controlled by us and we must put our children there. So they went into immigrations and took out 2,000 people and fired them from their jobs. These are people who have been certified as qualified, trained immigration officers. They took them out unceremoniously and then they started inserting the children of connected persons into the place. And I said, no, this cannot stand. I said, it cannot stand. Because the people that you're taking, I don't know them from Adam, but this is an injustice. So I started fighting it. Of course, then I have a little bit of ears within the government in terms of ministers and the rest of them who listen to reason. And I said, look, this can't happen in a country. Remember, an average northerner who has gotten a job in the police or gotten a job in immigration will go and buy a gun to protect my family. So imagine if that person loses his job unceremoniously. He becomes a terrorist and he will justify it. So I said, we cannot afford to have this number of people, 2,000 people becoming terrorists in Nigeria, who have been trained, who knows all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. I said, it must not happen. But nobody was seeing things from my angle. So I have to present a paperwork, present the trajectory of what was going on, engage the people that lost their job, ask them sincere questions. And I found out that they were even the best set that we have had in 10 years. So, of course, they were misguided. They were going under the tree, under the fountain to be protesting. I said, listen, no government worker in paramilitary institution protests. They won't take you back because nobody wants to hire protesters. So what you need to do is to strategize and engage government. You need advocacy, not activism. All activists, all advocates are activists, but not all activists are advocates. Advocates are people who understand law, who understand ethics, who understand morals, who understand policy, who understand extant laws that are available that guide certain professions or institutions, and they know how to engage government properly. It's not about going to the streets. So I said, just go home, go and relax. Let me have your list names and let me see what I can do. So I started engaging, engaging the Ministry of Interior, engaging the immigration CGIS. Then they just changed the CGIS from Moro to Babandede. So it led to a lot of issues, but we engaged ourselves respectfully, dutifully. I showed them all the trajectory. I showed them everything, and they were able to say, truly, what this guy is saying is true. This is not about fighting anybody. He had a point. He has a point. Let us look at the people that were fired, and let us look at the quality of the people we have. Let us do, then the immigration chief, then the CGIS is still the president. He said, okay, my friend, because again, I got to meet him. We took pictures together for that, because I don't take pictures with people. When you are so when you are separating the granite actually from the husk, for a blind person, you have to whistle so that he knows for sure that you're not eating or partaking from that particular communion. So I was very transparent with my dealings that, look, I am coming to these people not because I want anything, not because of anything, but because I feel for humanity, and I know the impact on society that this will bring, this injustice will bring. And I don't want to pull out anybody or demonize anybody. I did not curse out the president. I did not call his name. I just said this injustice will not stand, and I will continue to talk about it. So I started tweeting about it. I started Facebooking about it. I started writing everything and then publicizing everything until the minister said, Sega, please, let's sit down. What exactly is this thing about? I wrote a whole thesis about it, gave the projections and everything, and he said he was going to present it to Mr. President. And he did. And when he presented it, of course, one fair thing that I noticed about the administration, about the president himself, and I've been saying this, I said something during Jonathan's era. I said, I will forever be in support of anybody who is at the helm of affairs in Nigeria, regardless of what party they belong to, provided they are for the people. We can only be against each other when their policies are ruinous and injurious to the people. So if he is for Nigeria, I am for him. So they thought I said it because of Jonathan. I said the same thing during the administration. Also, when the president saw the proposal or the everything or the advocacy, he was like, it makes sense now that they should approve it. So the president himself signed them back in, the 2,000 people that were fired. NIS 2,000, that was what bet that. So when they brought them back, the immigration chief said, I did not recruit these people. They may not be loyal to me. They may see me as their enemy. And this is a paramilitary organization. I don't want problem. What is the staff strength of immigration? They are not up to 5,000. So please, let me know who I'm hiring. Some of them are started rioting. Some of them are joined cults. Some of them are already pregnant. I must be part of the screening process. I don't want any money. I don't want any allowance. I don't want any logistic cost or extra code. I will work for free, but I must be there to protect the interests of these people. And I addressed those people. They called them in batches and all. It was free, fair, transparent, and everything was done. In fact, it drew me closer to the immigration CG as at that time, and all his team. They were fantastic. They did the thing, and while we were doing that, in the process, 888 of them got back their jobs, while other ones fell out of technicalities and the rest, which was a pass mark anyway for me, because never can you challenge a despotic government and win. You remember they used to say, our leaders, like Dr. Wole Soyinka, Professor Wole Soyinka and the rest, they say you cannot fight government and win. I've heard it many times. There are many times when our leaders will come and say, don't waste your time about this one. Don't worry, you have tried. I said, no, I don't settle for, nobody remembers who is second. I settled for the best. I'm a perfectionist. So I said, I must get these people back their job. I don't want them to even thank me. I thank God that 888 of them got their jobs back, and the rest were able to reapply. I don't know whether they got their jobs back or not, but I know that injustice does not stand. And there were several other ones. There was a time again when some people rose up and said we must change our Nigerian passports. That what has been working before, what President Obasanjo fought to have, that made Nigeria, placed Nigeria topmost in the world in IATA, they wanted to ruin it overnight, to return us to the Oluwole days. It was this same Sega that stood up as citizenship to us as such.
That's the number one problem we have right now, especially in the north. I don't know how my friends that I have in the north, I don't know if a lot of them can no longer go to their villages, they can't sleep with their eyes closed, and we have friends everywhere. And I won't say because, okay, we're relatively better in the south, then we should now close our eyes to what is going on in the north. I'm very worried. I wanted to address that, and people have said, if you hire someone who is throwing everything away, is not achieving anything, you can't keep that person on the job. So what is going on?
Precisely. Security architecture-wise, we must understand the complexity of this. Nigerian politics have been so intertwined, have merged, if not metastasized, into the security architecture, to the point where people were put in positions. If there is a cancerous node within the police, for example, who is to lose his job, will be very Aquilian. Why? Because before an IG or AIG is drawn, they will be drawn and appointed by political entities. Not because they are meritorious. Some people will have to be promoted overnight to get to that position because they want somebody from a particular region. So with that, when that person gets into position and it becomes problematic, for the IG to fire that person would be to step on the toes of the people connected to the political power of the president. Certain elements will raise themselves and say, the person may be a thief, but he is our thief. Mr. President, if that guy loses his job and his position, we will withdraw our support for you. Because Mr. President don't want the support from that region to go, they will keep that criminal entity within the police system and they will fire the IG instead. So when you transpose that into the military architecture, the people that we are all pointing at are people who are not serving Nigeria or protecting Nigeria or useful or fit for purpose, are the most loyal people to the president. Firing these people is exposing himself or weakening his government, so to say, to people he doesn't know, to people he doesn't trust, to people he cannot really vouch for in terms of how committed they are to him.
So hundreds of people, including soldiers, will continue to die helplessly.
So this is the issue that we have in that conundrum. So now that Nigerians are now raising their voice towards the rejiggling of the architecture of our security now, the president is now torn between the devil and the blue sea. He needs to do the needful without rattling cages and without, how will I put it now, repaying the loyalty of certain entities, with sack letter. So these are the issues.
I'm not also worried that we tend to waste some of our best agents, especially in the police, because you want to appoint one IG.
You waste
IGs and pick one of them based on primordial sentiment. Is that not bad? Because we've spent a lot of money training these guys, and they just wake up one day and they are all gone.
Exactly. Training within the police structure, from what I've studied in the past 10 years, is punitive if you're a junior officer. When they say you're going for training, it's like you're going to prison. Because you have to carry mattress, carry buckets, carry soap, carry sponge, carry everything to a village, a remote village. Why is he in a village? Because every single person who have the power to site training centers will site it in their village so that he can bring or drive development to their village. So thereby punishing everybody who will come there to come and train. I can also tell you that within these 5 years, We have intervened in Nigerian Police Academy, who at some point had no POP dates, who at some point were not included in the IPPIS system, who at some point were not given allowances for 5 years until we intervene. You know, there's some things we can't make noise about. And these are the same officers that will wear uniform outside and start killing innocent people for money because of what they've been through. And remember, the police, the army, and the rest, these are a career path, actually. They are not professions where people go and enrich themselves. They are serving their nation, and they are getting what? The reward they are getting is the advancement in their career and the promotions that they get, and probably the